Good evening and welcome to the Plastic Crap podcast. You're joined by me, Ken from Miniature Wargaming Warriors. You've got Dom from Boots on the Table, Martin Seven's son, and we are joined with special guests today from Perry Miniatures, Alan and Micheal. Welcome, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it. And great to have you with us. How are you both?
Got two Perrys for the price of one. We thought
Yeah,
we
we
were going to
did.
get one, and we
Yeah.
got both.
I was double struck. I was like, two?
Camera, Alan rushed towards it.
Love it.
Excellent.
There we go. Bit of niggle already.
Definitely has got to be.
So, yeah. Well,
we're just going to check
thank you. As Ken said, thanks. Oh yeah, check everyone can hear us.
We are just checking everyone can hear us. Just let us know. We'll take 5 seconds.
Give it a minute for the chat to initiate. There we go.
Yeah.
Right, I think we're okay, Ken.
You're all right. I'm still waiting.
A few people in the chat.
2 minutes. I'm waiting for me. Did my go live button go?
Did you
yeah, it did.
Go live for
I did. I'm good.
Hey,
I'm good. Fantastic. Yep. Go.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and really appreciate because it's been a busy day. New launch today for a new range of figures I saw, which is fantastic. But can you take us back just to how did you start? How did you get going in this hobby?
Well, we didn't. We started, I suppose, by buying Airfix toy soldiers when we were probably about 5. Well, we didn't buy them; people bought them for us. I think.
Well, we did mum and dad.
Mum and dad, yeah. So, yeah, and it was mainly Airfix toy soldiers up until our early teens, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then we started making bigger figures, kind of 90 millimeter figures, in 2-part epoxy putties, something like Minipup.
Yeah.
Well, first, we tried out actually with wool filler, didn't we?
Yeah, we tried wool filler first.
Okay.
Wool filler.
Yeah,
sort of polyfiller.
Yeah.
Not much better than that.
It was it's called plastic putty. It's yellow in a tube, squished out. And
this is back in the early 70s.
And it dried within about 3 or 4 minutes. So no time.
No time for work. No.
It was half spy, and then we introduced the Millipup.
Yeah,
which is a little bit more successful.
But I suppose before that we made figures out pipe cleaners, and with Tipp-Ex eyes and felt tip eyes.
Okay.
Made up pipe cleaners.
Just little stickmen.
Yeah. What made you decide to sculpt? What made you think I'm going to sculpt?
I can't remember.
I suppose we always were drawing and painting, and I think it's just a natural
progression.
Yeah, just progress straight onto it.
Yeah, but since we could move our hands, I think.
Yeah.
But proper things with armatures in, that was around about early 70s, isn't that?
Yeah. But our mum was artistic, and our dad was originally a carpenter, so he could do things 3-dimensionally, and mum could do things 2-dimensionally. And I suppose perhaps we got a bit of both from them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of homegrown, I think, really, rather than we were never taught, at school to sculpt. We weren't really taught how to draw right.
Just picked it up, yeah.
Did I read somewhere that you were sort of doing it? You were sort of freelancing, doing modelling for Games Workshop while you were supposed to be doing your exams and things like that at school. Right?
Really? I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
You did start young.
Yeah. But yeah, last year we were working for Games Workshop while we were at school.
Wow.
We used to make it and then put them down, sort of bits down when the teacher came around.
Oh dear. But yeah, you did quite a few ranges with Game Workshop, didn't you? So I've seen obviously the Bretonians you're well famous for. Everyone always wants your sculpts for that, and I've seen some of the stuff you've done with Lord of the Rings as well, Micheal. I've got the picture of like a Gimli sitting on an Uruk-hai with a pipe with an axe in his head. I think you did that one.
Yeah, I did. I don't think it wasn't released at the time.
Yeah.
I think it was a couple of years later they released it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alan did a few as well.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good fun doing the Lord of the Rings stuff.
That was fun.
Great, because the figures were in scale. They wanted the figures in scale, rather than the normal workshops or.
Well, they wanted to make it deliberately different to what Workshop was producing.
Okay.
And fine by us.
Plus, they had to be okayed by the actors.
Oh, right.
Not just the face, but also the bodies on some of the main actors. So we had to get the proportions right.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's really quite interesting.
So they didn't like the fact you made them look a bit too podgy. They could veto it. They didn't like it. Could you do that for me?
Yeah. Just trim me down by about 4 stone. That'd be great.
I'm also asked for a tummy tuck. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So we're gonna have to ask who made you who gave you the hardest time around getting their figures to look absolutely perfect then?
I think we were let off quite lightly, really.
Yeah.
There's one other sculptor, which you can't really say, really, who got a bit of more hard time, who was also working on the project. At one point, there's about 5 sculptors, isn't there?
Yeah.
But we won't say the names, the name of the person. But
well, the first miniature character miniature that Brian Nelson made was Aragorn.
Yeah.
And he was paranoid about getting it right, and he made 23 versions of his head.
Oh, wow.
Because he's such a perfectionist. And he made 20.
Each one was perfect.
Yeah, each one looked exactly like it.
It looked perfect.
I've got one right here, actually, an Aragorn. I don't know if he's done that one, but if you can.
I don't think that's the first one he did.
Oh no, that's
Two Towers one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the Two Towers one.
Yeah.
That's the one that comes with 2 towers.
And then Brian went back and used the third one he made.
Yeah.
The third one. So after all that, we love it.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I gather being sculptors and things, and you really, you obviously enjoy doing it. Did you ever really get carried away with stuff and think they asked you to do, say, like 4 sculpts of something, you did like 20 or 30 or something like that?
No,
never went over the top of it.
Well, actually, no, actually, Bretonians we might have done, because we went a bit over the top on some of the helmets, variations on helmets, and the
perhaps we did on that.
The crests on the helmets.
Yeah,
I think there's about 20 or something.
Yeah, which is probably
more than needed. They didn't need that many. They just need about 5, I think. So we were. I mean, we did
this only happened once, then, but early on we actually worked during our holiday on some miniatures, and which they didn't necessarily want. We made some very, very early on. We made goblins with balls and chains. The idea was they spinning around again to the enemy ranks, and thought that would be great as a model, or a unit class in a goblin army. So I think you did some as well, did you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and did a bunch and took them in. They said, "Oh yeah, we'll take them." The rings were eventually wrote some rules.
Rick Priestley, and
that was
became the the fanatics.
Yeah. No, that's it's really cool to know that.
Yeah, which was that was sort of, it wasn't really asked for, but we did it anyway.
Yeah. Well, they would have preferred it more fantasy-esque, but
no, definitely. No, that's it. You sculpt of what you think you're going to sculpt to, don't you? You're the sculptor, so at the end of the day. No, definitely not.
You had a lot of freedom then in the early days to basically do within framework what you wanted.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So is that why eventually you moved into doing your own thing completely? Was just then you could literally do what the hell you like, what kind of ranges you're interested in?
No, well, when Wargames Foundry started up, that was really that's when we started doing our own historical things, which we wanted to do. But that was really more due to Brian Ansell, who used to own Games Workshop at the time. His dad was retiring, and he was very industrious. He wanted something to do, so he said, "How about setting up a Wargames factory, foundry, Wargames foundry, with and we'll do the sculpting, which made us happy because he knew we wanted to make historical figures as well as fancy ones. But
and Cliff ran the business, and so
Cliff Ansell, his dad, ran the business. So
yeah,
and we happen to be making the stuff we want to make all the time.
That's it. And historicals is obviously your passion, isn't it? So that's what you love is the historical side of things. I'm sure Martin's dying to ask you a question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So obviously, I'm currently building a big Wars of the Roses project, and sort of a big Yorkist army to go. Although through lockdown, I know my opponent's been building a huge Lancastrian force and doing lots of mercenaries from the continent and filling it with all sorts. But I was just wondering because, sort of like Ken said before, because he was looking at the frame, and you look at all the different sort of armor sets, different harnesses from the continent and from the different uniforms throughout all of your ranges. I was just wondering sort of how much research you have to do when you're sculpting these models. So the different armor sets, the different types of things that are available through all these periods. If you look at like the Napoleonic stuff, and because obviously I know you can see all of the information leaflets in there, but I was wondering when it actually comes to sculpting, where do you start?
Well, I mean, the research is probably half the fun, really. Getting into a new period and finding books or articles on what you're looking at. But with the War of the Roses, me and Alan been reenacting it for 15 years, I think.
Yeah, since 1985.
84 to about
until the accident.
Until 96. Yeah, and then so we kind of knew what the clothing should look like, how it goes together, how it sits on you, and also a lot of the armor, particularly the helmets and sallets and things, how they should look, coming close to the back of the neck and so on, rather than buckets on their heads.
And how armor works on arming doublets, and when you raise your arm, I mean, how far you can raise your arm,
and how restricted you are by the armor. I mean, which shouldn't be at all restricted by armor, but you always get the idea of these really heavy suits of armor being clanking around and not be able to raise your armor on a horse. But it's
all 19th century.
That's all 19th century.
It wouldn't last very long on the battlefield if that was the case.
There was one bloke in the 15th century who used to, I can't remember who he was now, but quite high up, an ability, used to run up to the back of the horse and leap onto the horse in full harness over the top of one of those high saddles onto the back.
That was a little trick he used to do.
Trick he used to do. And if you look at Hollywood films, you'd think, well, they wouldn't show that, would they?
No.
Somebody on. But no, you can.
Someone actually asked the question in the chat already. Said, "Have you ever thought about bringing out an earlier medieval range? Because you've got that, or the Roses range."
Well, the Ashmore range really is designed for about 1405 to about 1430, really. But you can go back a little bit. About 1400 is about earliest for the heavily armoured ones.
And I suppose the Bretonians we did were from about 1360, 1380.
Yeah.
I've done a First Crusade range of figures. Something in between. Yeah, I like the idea of
Baron's Wars.
Yeah, to 12s, 40s.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask. I was going to ask Baron Wars, and I'm sure Dom was probably going to ask that because Dom's
at the moment. Yeah,
Dom's massively into that.
I bought into Andy Holliday's Kickstarter on that, and I'm loving those figures. It's fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, once some figures like that come out, you got to think, no, what's the point?
It does make me. That's a question I was going to ask you. So, do you actually do that? Do you look at ranges and go, "Hang on a minute, they're so good, we can't really. There's nothing we can add to that."
Yeah,
it comes up. Yeah.
I mean, definitely if you're thinking just before you started doing a range, and then Paul Hicks does a range, think, oh, they're nice. There's no point. So it does happen occasionally. once in a blue moon. But generally, we'll just plough ahead anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you decide? Because I read somewhere, and you correct me if it's right or wrong, but that you basically you very seldom actually work on the same project. So you'll go off and do your own projects in isolation almost. And how do you decide what you're going to do?
Well, for me, it's probably a little bit more straightforward because I'm particularly into the Napoleonic period. There's about 12, 15 different armies I'm working on. Sort of in the range, but you can be inspired by lots of different things. Just uniform, just sort of within the Napoleonic office. I've still covered most of the main armies, but still, you think I'd really like to do those little armies that don't often get shown.
That's the beauty of that period, isn't it? There's all those little tiny states and different nations that had tiny armies that would be fabulous to model.
Yeah, I mean, anything can kind of like diary accounts or a painting, a Victorian painting, a contemporary painting of something. You think, oh, that looks interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say like a story or a book or something like that. You could be just like hearing an account of something for a letter that someone's written or something. It just gives you that enthusiasm, I guess.
Yeah, like when I did the Carlist War range, it was slightly delayed because I read a little bits about it before, and eyewitness accounts of things happening. And I was over there in Spain, northern Spain, in the Basque region on holiday, and we went up to the San Sebastian. There's a kind of citadel that sits in the bay, and wandering around the courtyard and the outer works, and there were graves there, and some with British names on. I knew it was a centre during the Peninsular War, during the Napoleonic Wars for the British. But some of these names had dates of death, which were 1837, 1836. What? Why were British officers still there then? And I started looking into it and doing more research and realised it was 10,000 British were out there during the Carlist Wars fighting for the Isabellino cause against the Carlists. And I started looking at all the uniforms. Berry's kind of red trousered and yellow cavalry and that, can you?
No, exactly.
The French Foreign Legion out there.
Yeah. Just got a quick question from someone in my chat. Is that basically they've asked. I can answer this because I know you do. You got like in your archers, your English archers, you do separate heads without the bodies. They've asked, can you ask if they consider doing bodies without heads as you do extra heads separate? That's what they've asked. Maybe you do for different ranges. For Napoleonics, do they all come with on the sprue? Do they come with heads attached normally?
No, we normally within Napoleonics really it's better to do the heads separate.
Yeah.
So we could make sets of bodies and have the extra heads could be used on the. I think that's what they're asking.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what they're asking. Yeah, that makes a bit more sense.
Heads.
I see. Sorry,
bodies and stick those plastic heads.
Yeah, but
you could, but I don't know how well they'll sell.
No, extra body. I mean, you mean plastic bodies?
Yeah, plastic. Yeah.
Bodies, no.
No, that's much too expensive to
yeah.
Around.
Yeah. No, that's fine. No, that's cool.
That touched on something I was going to ask you about the difference between metal and plastic, and I suppose also resin. Is there a different process when you're sculpting, when you know whether it's going to be done metal versus plastic, and how do you decide what you're going to do? You know, when you start saying this is going to be a metal range, and I'm just going to do this.
Yeah, it's down to how many
we think will sell. I mean, something like the Carlist War, nobody's going to buy masses of them, so that was never going to be plastic. Same as the War of the Triple Alliance. Brought out. It's going to sell, but it's not going to do enough.
You're not going to make enough to do in plastics. No.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully the Franco-Prussian War will work in plastic. I mean, sell enough. But
I mean, that's a little bit of a sort of getting sell, right?
Fingers crossed.
Sometimes you can tell the reaction when we put them up, like today. If there's good reaction,
they should
think
sell.
it should be all right.
Yeah, it influences your decision. It gives you confidence with it, doesn't it? If you've got people behind you saying, yeah, you know, you're getting loads of likes and loads of thumbs up and stuff, you know that it's going to do well, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, the Austrian Cavalry Cavalry brought out, what was it, last year? Beginning of this year. Sorry, no. It's going to be beginning of this year, but Corvus got in the way. Anyway, they came out, and I didn't know how popular, about a month ago, didn't know how popular they're going to be, but we keep selling. Yeah, it's been going really well.
Yeah.
You would think
unlike cavalry, you'd have thought people have probably have enough, but
you can never have too many
cavalry.
No, you can never have too many cavalry. You can never have too, as Dom said, never too many. Too many models, never too many.
So that's a good lead in on the Franco-Prussian range you just brought out today. So what have you launched so far, and what's planned in that range?
Oh, the far as I've got so far, I've made 4 Prussians and 3 French, and that's it. I'd like to do the whole of the war and that, and all the troop types, but whether that is
but that'll be metal.
But all that rest will probably be in metal. I mean, if they go really well, I might bring out something else in plastic. But yeah, so it's all the other, like the Zouaves and Imperial Guard for the French and Bavarians and Württembergers and then all the cavalry and all the cavalry and artillery as well. So
yeah,
it could be endless. Another endless range.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. There's always money to be spent.
There's always you'll say, oh yeah, but how about Baden infantry? They look exactly like infantry, apart from a slight change on their badge on the helmets, and I probably wouldn't do that.
No. No, definitely not.
That's a good question, because we do joke in the hobby about the sort of button Nazis that complain about the fact that buttons out of place and the right. Do you get a lot of feedback like that? I mean, you do a lot of research, I know, and you're big into the historical accuracy, but do you get people saying, "Oh no"?
Always, there's something. We miss something.
This very day when I released these Prussian figures, I had a German saying, "Oh, that's wrong. But they should have the trousers tucked into the boots for the officer." Okay, yeah, I might change that. And then somebody else who knows this stuff on French uniform said, "Oh, I think you got the wrong canteen there."
Oh, okay.
It's not the early one was used. And I went back looking at the resources, and there was one which I copied, which was from 1865, and it had the name of the person who owned it and the date on it, 1870. So
there you go. there you go.
Check again. It's very, very handy.
Like raspberry back to then.
Yeah.
It is when people point things out. And, right, but it's better when they're wrong.
Yeah.
If you had made the thing,
yeah, definitely. Just to go.
So a couple of questions in the chat from people asking a couple of very similar kind of themes, like, have you considered doing your own fantasy range again?
Nope.
And another one was about modern. Nope. Okay, that's easy. What about Antiquity and Dark Age? Anything like? I mean, that seems pretty well stuffed with ranges of that kind of thing.
We have.
I did a whole biblical.
I did a whole biblical range.
Yep.
Back in the 80s, which is good fun to do, and great fun to research. Actually, Nigel Stillman's. We used to. I don't remember Nigel Stillman. He wrote the Chariot Wars.
Yeah.
And various other armies of the Middle East, and he was working at Games Workshop at the time, so it was great. I could ask him about stuff, and he'd come out with lots of different ideas.
Yeah.
That's not, but he has a mind of information, so it's quite good researching it with the help of him. So we have done things like that.
Dark. I mean, I've done late Roman stuff and kind of 4th, 5th century. I covered I covered. I did a couple of armies. But there are periods that we haven't done, and might still go back to, like a earlier medieval, possibly at some point. You've got to be really into it to actually do it, because we're doing it for ourselves, really. Because if we didn't enjoy making a range, we wouldn't do it.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because you got to do something you love, isn't it? You're not going to sit there and sculpt 20 sculpts of some different units of things you're never gonna play with. So what's the point?
It's a Games Workshop for 36 years.
Yeah.
No.
We never replayed it. Actually, we did. Yeah. But it was only during the day when we're obviously being paid to play games. That was good fun.
Yeah.
Usually Friday was games afternoon, and we usually try and get involved in some sort of game.
Yeah.
Always Games Workshop stuff because it's at work.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
being paid, that's good.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do you consider what you do now with your own company? Do you consider that more? Do you consider it work like you would at Games Workshop, or do you find it more you just do it for enjoyment and you love doing what you're doing and that side of things?
We wouldn't do it if we didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
We're normally making armies of the range we're working on as well, painting up units or sending them off to be painted up.
Yeah. No, that's it.
We're as excited about getting a range complete, or as complete as be able to play a decent sized battle and get units painted up. So as somebody else buying them,
yeah.
So, but it's always fun to get the plastics back, first frames and shots of the plastics.
Yeah.
Start putting those together and start painting them up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That was another thing I was going to ask actually. So. Obviously, you do sculpts and you sell your metals and things like that. Have you ever made any miniatures and you've done them in metals, but you've kept for yourselves and never released?
Only because we've forgotten we've done. Made some and I've forgotten they're in the mold, been molded.
Yeah.
I haven't done the command from. Oh, yeah, it's about 4 years afterwards.
Yeah.
I made some figures and I haven't released them.
Yeah.
Well, I did them twice as well. I did that. I made some more, but I need to do some of these. Oh, I've already done them.
Yeah, you've already done them.
A bit of sense of deja vu as you're doing it.
Yeah, you're thinking, I swear I've done this. Yeah. That's a great one. Love it.
Put figure down and get knocked on the floor or something. And you think, oh, I'm going to make it again. And you finish it, and then you find it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That happens.
Yeah, definitely. You got something you want to add, Brian?
Yeah, well, it's just kind of sort of off the back of other things. I was just wondering if there was anything you dislike sculpting, like a particular pose, or I don't know, for horses. So if there was anything in particular you feel like you sort of have to include an alternative pose or something like that, but it's something that you don't look forward to sort of doing so much when you are sculpting.
One thing really irritates me is American War of Independence commands, the officers of the commands. Because officers, you can do a lot with a figure with a sword, but during the American War of Independence, they nearly always carried fusils or muskets, the officers.
Right,
so taking a musket one-handed, well, there's not a lot you can do. You can point, down, do that, like that. That's about 4 or 5 things you do.
Yeah.
And after about sort of 20, 30 codes of figures doing the same sort of thing, you want to try and so they're irritating to do.
But parts of the figure, not really. I mean, hands are always a bit of a not pain, but they take more time than they should really. Making hands, and
they're right when they're grabbing weapons.
When they're grabbing weapons,
but it's in midair.
Yeah,
doing that.
Individual fingers, sort of thing, like getting in there, and
and if you make them one, they won't come out. Worth making one a bit bigger, well, not bigger, but a bit chunkier than usual.
But other than that, I mean, I like quite like making horses. I don't mind making horses. Not too many in one go though.
Yeah.
Legs really. I mean, better if I only had 2 legs, but
yeah.
You go back to fantasy again then.
Yes.
Yeah, other animals don't really get much chance of making. Really, I think I've only made a couple of elephants in my life.
Cows, oxen,
Yeah,
few.
yeah, camels and things.
Actually,
nice enough.
Actually, I have made loads of animals now since my wife's got a shop in Nottingham, and they'll make little animals from things like sort of snails to giraffes and things like that. Just for it's a gift type shop, so making lots of different animals is what I make for her Christmas presents.
Oh right, yeah.
So she can last and sell it in the shop. As I've made loads of weird stuff, weird animals.
You name it, I've sculpted it.
Yeah, more or less.
A great question here from somebody in the chat. Chris asks, "What's the favourite sculpt of each other's that you liked?"
Each other's? Oh, we never talk about that.
Don't like anything he's made.
No, don't like each other's work at all. I did read that. Is that true? Also, your own worst enemies in terms of looking at each other's works, and you dread showing each other the work you've done because you're going to be criticised for it.
No. I mean, we don't like what we've done after a
couple of weeks.
You look at it and think, oh, could have done that better. But it's what you've done yourself that I can look at something, kind of. Only very rarely I look at something, a few years old, made several years ago, and think, oh yeah, that's kind of still all right. But most of the time, I don't really like anything I've made after a couple of weeks now.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's interesting, yeah.
I suppose it's a sign of improvement, getting better, but try and get better anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, once it's been painted up by somebody,
not
us,
professional.
Then they look completely different. They're like, oh yeah, actually, that's right.
No, that's it.
Yeah, I mean that must give you a lot of pride, isn't it, when you see somebody, some people, the works of art they produce when they're painting these figures up.
Oh, it's amazing.
To see them done.
That's we always try and send off to really good painters. Sometimes there's not enough time really, or we chuck them. We send so much stuff out. We can't send them anymore, so we have to. Sometimes I've painted mine myself. Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a bit embarrassing, but to show, but.
Yeah, that's that side of the hobby. With that side of the hobby, then, so with your own personal collections, obviously, do you? I'm gathering you've got a lot of figures between the pair of you. You must have a lot of figures. Do you have a favourite set of figures that you own?
Sorry, army-wise, you mean?
Yeah, army-wise, yeah. Favorite army.
It's generally the one that's just been painted. It's finished. Trying
to think. I mean, the American Independence forces are really colourful, and I do like those armies. I mean, I like all the Napoleonic armies as well, and I can't choose which is best really, which I like most.
Yeah,
I'm probably happiest with the Carlist War One armies.
Yeah,
they are. I think there's not many people who've got that period because I don't think we sell a lot.
Yeah. It's like you've got. I'm like yourself. I quite like the models that not everyone else has got. That's that rare obscurity. So when you get them out on the table, someone's like, "Oh, what are they? I've not seen them before," sort of thing. And that's what I've always steered towards. Like just trying to be the outcast. Apart from my dwarfs, I love my dwarfs. But yeah, no. Have you got anything else in the chat so far, Dom? You got questions coming in?
I'm just looking back through them all here. So lots of people saying hi. Someone was asking, hi. What was it like to work on Peter Jackson's Gallipoli diorama? It looked amazing.
We were like slaves. It was
absolutely brilliant.
It was a bit weird,
daunting,
yeah, and didn't get much time to do it because it was on I think it was the 4th of December that he emailed and said, Would you be interested in helping out with this diorama? I'm thinking of putting together about this Battle of Chubut Bear in the First World War. And for years beforehand, we'd been making him these miniatures, 54mm miniatures, for his own collection for this particular campaign. And we both said, "Oh, yeah, definitely. When do you want? How big is it going to be?" He said, "Well, I'm looking at around about 3,000 figures."
Wow.
And we said, "Oh, wow, that sounds great. And when do you want it by?" He said, "Well, the doors open at the museum on April the 6th or something. Yeah, so that's 4 months, including Christmas." "Oh, are you all these painted up and the diorama in New Zealand?" "Yep." We always said yes to it anyway, before he said when it was needed.
Well, you just don't say no to
No,
it.
you don't say no to it.
No,
And then
so you can't say no to him, can you? Oh,
through the process,
God.
he got in contact again. We got in contact quite a lot then. But he said, "Oh, by the way, I think of expanding it a bit. What I'd like to have is the Canterbury battalion coming in as well, and also the Maori battalion went up this ridge. So can we?
Is he expanding the whole?
Yeah. So can we?
So he's got you signed in, and that's it. That's it now.
It was 10,000 figures in the end, 54mm figures.
Wow.
That's and they all had to be painted. Well, we hadn't actually cast that many up. We hadn't made. I mean, we had to make quite a lot of figures. Then there had to be molds made for them, cast up, packaged up, sent over to New Zealand.
And they're all on terrain, which is steep like that.
Yeah.
Either that way, that way.
And we did
so either clambering or scrambling or down or up, but we didn't know how we were going to fit on terrain really. So a little bit of guesswork.
Yeah. Yeah. Had to go.
So we had to make figures to because you could use for both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of, and defence and stuff like that. And it was mind-boggling and quite nerve-wracking because we used to send over in batches of 500 for the New Zealand painters to paint up, wargamers to paint up.
Basically, the cheapest way to get them painted was via the wargamers. We thought initially they'd get the wargamers in Wellington to paint them up, the Friday night Fusiliers.
Yeah.
But there's only about 12 of them, and get 5,054mm figures painted.
But they said I emailed Rhys Jones, who's the bloke overseeing the whole thing really for Peter, and I said, "How about using Friday Night Fusiliers?" And he said, "Oh, I think we can do better than that." So you got the whole New Zealand wargamers, all the wargamers in New Zealand. Well, they put out a request, and everybody was signed up for it. Quite a lot of people.
I think it was 120, 40, I think.
In the end, I think.
Well, so these batches went out to the wargamers. They painted up 30 or 40, however many they could, and then sent them back in again, or brought them to Wellington. And when we went over there, they started coming in their groups. And some were, a lot of them were very good. And seeing as it was over a big area, because the actual diorama is 40 by 30 foot, I think, easily, in a big C shape. And so the way they're mobbed together in some places, it didn't really matter. The better ones on the outside, the better painted ones on the outside.
Yeah.
And poor painted in the middle.
Yeah. That's the thing with the hobby, though. You probably agree with this, and you've probably seen it over the years. The amount of people you've spoken to, and how us wargamers seem to all just come together from all different walks of life and things, and just have this hobby, and we can sit down and we can talk about it, or we can all chat, like they did, and grouping together and get something done for people. It's just incredible, really, isn't it? It's just a really nice thing to be in this hobby. Really, you do meet some nice people on the way. But no, definitely.
As I say, the New Zealanders all did it for free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where else would you get that? You just wouldn't, would you?
Yeah, you probably wouldn't get that done over here for free, would you?
I don't know.
Persuasive Peter Jackson is, isn't it?
Yeah.
The New Zealand battle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
you've known Peter for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've known him from...
The 2002, probably 2002. Yeah, I think I first met him. Yeah,
and you still. Oh, go on. Sorry. Oh, that's right.
Because we knew Richard Taylor, who's head of Weta, about a year before that. He's a very friendly bloke, and we met him at premiere for the first film, Lord of the Rings, didn't we? Richard first. Oh, no, Richard came over to workshop.
Came over to workshop.
That's right, workshop. Yeah, but yeah, we met Peter in Paris for the first time. Richard said, "Oh, come and meet Peter." And we were at a gallery opening. John Howe, who does all the private view, which was open just before the film in Paris, and so all the cast were there, and about another 200 other people, and which is while they were talking in French, they were on the podium talking, and Richard came up to us and said, "Oh, could you come and speak to Peter? He's just bought a Sherman tank."
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant the model for a sec. I thought you meant the model then, but you actually meant a Sherman tank.
And Richard knew that we had a Stuart light tank, so we thought it might be a good way to break the ice, and so we were whispering with Peter behind this big speech going on up on the stage, and we were at the back of the crowd just chatting about tanks, and then. And anyway, that was the first time we met him, and then we were asked. We said, "You've got to come over here. We'll get you in the film." And so eventually we did go over there, and they squeezed us in. Then we kept going back.
I love that story. You were both in the film, weren't you? Yeah.
That's right.
In Lord of the Rings. And
you were both in the film.
Yeah,
and in The Hobbit as well.
Yeah.
Oh, in The Hobbit. Oh wow.
You were in The Hobbit as well, were you? Know that?
No, I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to have a look out now. I'm gonna have to. You're giving me an excuse to watch the extended edition again. So
you can see us moving around a bit, but you have to again be very quick on the full time.
Actually, we're more in The Hobbit than we were in Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not stood there with a paintbrush in the background or something, guy. You're just like a cameo.
No, actually, Lord of the Rings. We were sculpting on set.
Oh wow!
When one particular day, doing the Black Gates, the fight at the Black Gates, Viggo charges off towards Black Gates, and I was actually sculpting him on horseback at the time, and so it's quite good
reference material.
Of course, quite good reference material. I was going up. I said, "Do you mind if I just?" Because he's sitting in the chair, in normal sort of actors type chairs, and he's just having his hair done. And I said, "Do you mind if I just have a look more closely?" He goes, "No, that's all right." Then a little bit later on, he said, "I'm just trying to get that greave right." I said, "Oh, you have it." Just stop taking the greave off. Oh, no, it's all right. He's very good. Really.
Oh dear.
All nice. Yeah.
Oh,
we were told by John Howe that they'll treat you like kings when you go over there, and we thought, I don't know why would they do that?
Yeah,
but they did. Just,
I think is it any person coming over from Britain? Yeah, is treated
like kings.
Yeah,
because you always go.
Yeah. I mean, it's 5 hours from anywhere, isn't it? From even the closest point from Australia, I think it's 5-hour flight. So anybody makes it that far is welcome.
It's a bonus.
Oh dear. No, I never knew that about the Lord of the Rings. I knew you guys were, you were in it, but I never knew about the Hobbit or anything like that. No, it's really interesting to know that. Really quite cool. But yeah, you got another question you want to ask mine?
I'm going to ask one because my friend, who's the horrible Lancastrian player, who is probably going to beat me in our next game, he's going to ask, even though it's not about Wars of Roses, but he won't me. He just wanted me to ask if there was ever any sort of plans for any kind of plastic English Civil War stuff.
English War.
No. Yeah, there we go. That's fine. There we go. I'll say that, then we'll play him, and hopefully I'll beat him. So
yeah.
What already done
yeah, they've done pike and shot range, didn't they?
Pike and shot range, which are a little bit early in period. I mean, they're about 1610, really, aren't they? Clothing,
Yeah.
but I think I don't think I would. It's not. I mean, even though I've made 2 ranges of English Civil War. One we did both for Foundry, and one I did more recently for Pair of Miniatures. But even while I was doing it, I think I don't know why I'm doing this. Really, I'm not really into the things. we reenacted it. And that's enough because that kind of generally, kind of
with the Civil War, we did it for about 10, 15 years.
Yeah,
and in the end, we had enough of it really. I think.
So
run dry.
So plastic ECW, no, I'm afraid not.
No.
No,
that's cool. I've got 2. One's going to be from me. So the first one will be World War One. Have you ever considered or thought about doing like World War One sculpts of any sort?
World One Sculpts.
Yeah.
But all for protection.
Oh right, okay.
Gallipoli campaign.
Yeah, we have done loads, but not as a range.
No, not 20. We got 2 friends of ours, Ali Morrison and
Dave Andrews,
who run
Great War
Miniatures, and they make Great War Miniatures. I mean,
yeah,
they First World War, and it'd be so rude of us to
yeah.
come out First World War. Oh, great.
Yeah, that's not the best. And the second question is from one of the subscribers. He's asked you, Alan, have you ever thought about broadening your Napoleonics range to cover the 1812 North American or British campaigns in India?
Yes. Actually, I'm reading a book on the War of 1812 at the moment. It's a particularly good book, actually. So by the end of it, I might well feel inspired.
Yeah.
India is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
To delve in. You could use some of the British, which are in the British Egyptian range, but Napoleonic range. But to start doing Indian troops for that, quite big.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
1812, War of 1812, quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You've made someone happy.
Most British they sort of cover it anyway, so it's really the opposition.
Yeah.
Not much the British, is it?
No.
So I'm interested. So if you would decide to do the 1812 period and you sat down to design, what's the process? Take us through the process of taking the inception of what you want to do and how long it then takes you to actually design, sculpt, and actually get figures manufactured.
Read a few books first. Usually concise books to get an idea in your head straight away what sort of size range you're thinking of. Make a long list or short list depending on the size of the army, and then start making from the more basic troops, nucleus of the army first.
Right. So you start with the core, the
core,
foot sloggers first.
Maybe 10 infantry packs, artillery, and a few cavalry
and command.
So you got people can start building their armies.
Build a unit. Yeah.
But to actually from the inception, from actually thinking about what period you want to do, it could be something that's been in your brain for years, and you think, okay, I'm going to start doing it now. We used to do little sketches beforehand of what poses, but we just don't bother doing that anymore because you know what you're going to do with a musket or a rifle, in a way.
Yeah.
And there's drill positions you have to use as well, which according to the period. So you know roughly, and it's so exciting doing the first figure for a range that you can't really wait any longer than think, I'm going to do that range. Then go straight into it and start making one figure. And you do a number of figures, and
then you put them up, and then somebody says, "That's wrong." Oh,
So, but to think about it, and then to make a metal figure probably would take about a day. Normally, what we do is make more than one figure at a time. So you have about 4 or 5 figures lined up in a row, and you make the legs on one, legs on the next, and then while the legs are drying, you start working on the body on the one that's dried in the first place.
Yeah.
So,
although actually often prior to that, you make the equipment.
Yeah.
Muskets or get digitally made nowadays. We do, but we make all the equipment and get those cast. and then you can start properly making your first.
Okay.
So at the same size rather than all the equipment painted
Right.
same size.
Oh, that's
So that way you know that the arms are going to lock in position around the musket and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you don't want a line of troops with muskets which are 5 millimeters too tall, compared to the one beside it, and so on.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
And, yeah, so I mean, so making it take maybe if you did one figure, you could do one in a day. The other bits, the equipment bits, might take half a day or a day, so 2 days for a figure. Getting them molded, you need a whole mold of figures to be worthwhile. So, but the actual mold making might take half a day, and production mold another day. So, all in all, you could probably make something beginning of the week and have it just about in production, but by the end of the week. Although that never worked.
No, never worked.
Yeah, because our mold maker caster has got so much on his plate.
Yeah.
And I just think how quick he could get it done.
Yeah.
And it was almost that kind of speed when you're doing the Glyphly stuff.
Yeah, so it can be done.
Oh, wow.
Everything else is out the window at the time.
Yeah.
No, that was quick. That's a lot quicker than I thought. To be honest with you, I thought it would take you.
Yeah, I imagined it took months on end.
Yeah, months and months.
Plastic's different.
Metal, that was.
Yeah, plastic's completely different then.
Yeah, so then what is the difference between, without getting to the too technical on, what's the difference then, and why does plastic take so much longer to do then?
Everything has to come out of a steel mould that falls apart automatically without anybody standing there watching it. So you can't have any undercuts. So everything has to be beveled by around about 2 to 3 degrees. With metals, you can have undercuts a little bit. So an angle like that, it could be 90 degrees or slightly less.
Yeah.
If it's in plastic, it can't. It's got to be so it just slips out and drops out each time. So plastics are far more difficult, and you've got to know the line of draw for the steel mold as well.
Right. Okay.
That has to be the mold's made of that parts of the plastic figure, the 3 ups this size. Each part is then cast in put in a resin mold. Parts taken out, and then you end up with the cavity, which is then traced around with a pantographing machine, and then at the same time cut into a steel block, which is ratioed down 3 times, and that's where the skill comes in. I mean, that's months and months of work for a trained craftsman to do that.
Yeah,
and that's so expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, we use Renedra, who work in a traditional way. A lot of people go to digital side of things, which is
CAD.
a little bit quicker, possibly, but
generally done in China.
But obviously done in China, and
Yeah.
Never 100% sure what you're going to get.
No.
Right.
So your stuff's made here in the UK.
Yeah. Yes. In Wisbech.
Yeah.
It's down the road from where I am. So.
Right.
Don't tell him that.
What's about Renedra is that Terry Ardina, who runs it, usually big boss, big cheese, always comes over. If he'll go, he's a perfectionist as well. He's got to be in his job, and he always, if something's not going to work, he'll say that's not going to work. Can you alter that, or we'll come over to Nottingham and we'll go through it. So it's always we always know what we're going to get at the end of it.
Oh, that's good as well. Yeah, that's it.
He does like to swear that.
Oh yeah.
Humorous.
Oh, he's always very humorous.
Got another one here. Someone's asked, have you ever considered doing different scales? So, like for example, 15mm, 6mm, or are you going to just stick with 28?
Well, for Perry Mingers, we're going to stick. Yeah, we did 40. We do 40mm.
Yeah.
Perry Mingers, huge range,
and did 54 for the Peters figures.
We have done 15mm with Foundry, Wargames Foundry, a long time ago.
And we've done 10mm with Games Workshop doing the epic stuff.
Yeah.
I was making skeletons at the time, and I got a migraine doing it, and I just stopped anything that's small again.
Yeah.
The travel battle. But actually, travel battle figures, when they're three size up,
yeah,
about 28 millimeters, yeah, so reduced down.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
But
Yeah.
no plans for doing anything.
No, that's cool. No, that's fine. That sorts that question out.
What do you think about 3D printing and that sort of thing? I mean, obviously that's becoming a big thing, and probably will become bigger as we move forward.
Oh, it's good.
Do you see that as a threat, an opportunity, or
I mean, it depends on the not. I think we'll just carry on doing what we're doing anyway, but to make it different to us, really. I mean, what is nice is that we're getting a friend of ours, Raw Farm, to actually make the weaponry, kind of muskets and things, which I don't mind doing.
RPs out anyway. And,
at
home. And,
he can do them fairly quickly, and he loves doing them, and it saves us a lot of time. And they are always perfect. So I can see the advantages of it. Although when you're actually making figures, they can look like they've been digitally made. I mean, I'm sure there are people who digital artists now who you can't tell if they're digital or not. But quite often, if they're using,
but you mean the home
home 3D print and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a mixture, isn't there? There are some people who are doing it commercially, and they're using some pretty damn big machines that produce quite fine prints. But then also there's that huge opportunity of people at home doing their own figures.
Yeah. The only thing is, it's still quite expensive to produce one. I think. I know the costs are going down.
Yeah.
But and probably the technology is obviously going to catch up.
Yeah.
And they'll be perfect.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's 100%. There must be quite a few which
there's close. And there's always a lot of cleaning up to do.
There is. I've got one literally behind me, a resin one. It's one of the cheaper ones, but like you were saying, I can't get a print for that price to look anything as near to a miniature of what you guys do. You're looking at spending maybe 10, 20 grand for a machine that can do that sort of stuff. Exactly. And your commercial in your home use, you just can't get it, but definitely not. But no, like Don was saying, didn't know if there were any like designers out there who were thinking about like spending that sort of money and instead of sculpting, just 3D printing their minis in future.
Is there anybody actually doing? I mean,
there
must be.
There's
selling.
Yeah, what was that? Oh, I remember. I'll come back to me. But there is a company that did a Kickstarter a little while ago that just do 3D printed miniatures, and it will come to me. Someone in my chat will probably know what it is, but they literally that's what they do. They just print 3D printed minis. But I can't think of who it is now. I will remember, and I'll try and remember. If not, I'll send you an email after because it's gonna bug me.
I assume they get sent with all the feeds rather to the customer, rather than, or the person cuts them all off and then.
Yeah, there is a lot of cleanup.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've only ever bought vehicles on 3D printing, and they tend to come completely cleaned off, but that's a different sort of thing.
Yeah, it's plastic, isn't it? The resin side of things, again, it's resin, isn't it? It's if it's not cured or anything like that, you don't want to be sending that to a customer, uncured resin. No, definitely not. So yeah, but no, just an interesting question, wasn't it, Don? Yeah.
Just intrigued because I just see it changing, and it's one of those things. I think, the hobby. I mean, you've been in the hobby a long time, and I think there's been so many changes through the hobby, and I think almost it's as good a place now in terms of the sheer variety and the offers and actually relatively cheap stuff now compared to back in. I remember buying Hinchcliffe and minifigs figures that were flipping expensive compared to what they really are now. But then you add in 3D printing and you add in all the other technologies there are as well. It's amazing the variety of things that you can do at the moment in the hobby.
I'm sure somebody will come out with a printer that's dead cheap and with resin, good quality resin, which I'm sure is happening anyway now. But but I don't know how much it's going to affect actually what we do.
No.
Well,
people come to you guys because you're the Perry twins, and people want your minis, don't they? Then you've got a cult following, definitely for sure.
I did make one digital model in my life, probably the only one I did, which was Smaug for The Hobbit. I made
right.
for Games Workshop. Yeah, the model that came out for Smaug, and it was only because there was a free computer at work at the time when there was a Games Workshop, and I said to the immediate boss there, I'm going to have to go to making the head of Smaug. I would already done it traditionally, and I thought I wasn't happy with it. So I said, I'm going to try doing it digitally. He said, oh, yeah, all right. Okay. So you really used it for about one or 2 days farting around, learning how to use it. And then I made the head and thought, oh, actually, that's not too bad. It's quite fun doing it. So I'll just make the neck as well. 3 or 4 months later, I'd done the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Produced in resin. And I was quite happy with it, really. I was surprised the way it did turn out right.
Yeah. Which version is it? Because they've got a couple of versions. They did a smaller version, didn't they? And then they've got that massive one, haven't they? Of Smaug.
This is the big one.
Oh, he's the big one. Yeah. Wow. That's yours. Wow. That's that. Again, didn't know that.
The only one.
Yeah.
I actually did the base of that.
Oh, you did?
You can see all the coins on the base.
Yeah.
I did that digitally. I did it by hand.
Oh my god. My god. I'm quite surprised you didn't say you don't like doing gold coins, to be honest.
I did do everyone. I did a batch and then I got resin and then stuck resins.
Yeah.
You did it filled up. Yeah. I did cheat a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many coins are on.
A lot. Yeah. That'd be great for like a church prize. How many coins do you think there are on this model base?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't like to be the person who counts there.
No. No, definitely
Are there
not.
any figures that you've dreaded doing? Any models that you've dreaded making? You started doing a range and then think, I've got to
why have I done this? Yeah.
For Games Workshop, I didn't like making.
And most base stuff I didn't particularly get on with either.
We never. I think I made one Space Marine in my life, possibly two possibly.
I can quite proudly say I've never made a Space Marine in my life.
You've never made. Do you own any? That's the question. No.
Hell no.
Which has never been produced, never been printed or anything in print, which is very nice. It's based on a 16th century portrait. It's a Space Marine with a globe in the background. It's great, really good.
Oh, that's quite cool. Yeah.
It's a great picture.
Yeah.
With space jobs, you can't.
Yeah. I'm just being cautious for time because you guys obviously said you're going to do an hour. Are you happy to stay on a little bit longer, or if you want to go and?
My wives went to the pub.
Oh wow!
So
they haven't come back yet. So
keep going.
Yeah, keep going. No, that's cool.
Up to you.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. I am going to ask you those questions I said to you at the start of the stream about now. I'll ask you now. I'll ask everyone this. What if you could only play one rule set? That's it. That's the one rule set you can play just for you can use whatever period. So say like it's Black Powder, you could use whatever time. Which rule set would it be and why?
Black Powder. Black Powder, really?
Do Black Powder, yeah.
The
one with most variety. I gifted it to you.
Yeah, you didn't give them anything there, did you?
Oh no.
It's the only one. I think we know 80% of the rules of.
Right.
Anything that we need to read and has to digest, I'm lost. But we also have the advantage that usually when we're playing, Rick Priestley's usually around as well playing.
That's quite handy.
that would help.
But does he cheat with his own rules? That's what.
Yes, there isn't, because he can never remember.
We are very lucky. Either he'll come along, or Alessio, who's written a number of the bolt action stuff, especially if we're playing the occasional bolt action. He'll come along and play that.
Yeah.
I had Richard Lloyd up when we played Chain of Command, which is a good set of rules.
I think we nearly broke him.
And we did nearly break him because it was the biggest game you'd ever played with Chain of Command.
Oh dear.
It's not meant as many figures or vehicles. He's scratching his head, but we did it.
Yeah, no, that's great. We're going to try out Chain of Command, aren't we, Dom? At some point. I've got the rule book sitting there.
I still haven't got around to it.
No.
One day.
Very
I do like the Lardy games, so I must admit I must have a go at them.
I love the initial deployment.
the phase. Yeah, the what was it? The one where you do the scouting, isn't it? And you lock down and that's really cool. Yeah, no, that is very cool. It's quite unique, isn't it? In that way, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you get to game a lot, you two? I mean, you've obviously got beautiful gaming rooms. We've seen them and ogled them on screen. But...
The last 3 months, we do almost every week.
Once a week or once every 2 weeks. Yeah, but usually, quite often we have a campaign running that one of us runs. At the moment, we're still in an American Civil War campaign, which is getting quite exciting. Well, it's got quite exciting. We've had about 6, 7 battles, I suppose, maybe now, and it's building up quite nicely. But we had to stop because of the virus thing. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
I can't say how many people in it because the others aren't supposed to know who's in it.
Oh, got ya.
Ongoing, so I can't really get into it. So,
well, you could. I don't think anybody's going to report back.
Well, it's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone knows now.
There's more than
Oh no! No, it's always fascinated me, to be honest. Like campaigns, I've always wanted to do that sort of thing. Have games lead on to other games. I'm gonna definitely have to give that a go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sticking together War of the Roses one. We're kind of loosely sticking that together, but just by allowing, say, surviving units to, because we're using Hail Caesar for that, and then sort of adopting some bits and bobs, and then. But we're just saying, so a unit that survives, for example, the heavy cavalry that decimated me last time, will allow them to take, say, the elite rule in the next game, or units get held up if they were particularly overwhelmed and they're late turning up to the next game. So we're going to do sort of some loose things like that. But I'd really like to do sort of a map based.
We did. Yeah, we did a War of the Roses one.
I know, because that's why I didn't.
There's some brilliant things that happen, like you move from town to town, basically, and Alessio, you can do anything you like during the march or you're leading up to the battle. So Alessio, marching through Cambridge, he said, burn the place.
Oh.
I said, in an email, raise the place. And I said, do you really mean burn it down? Burn Cambridge? He said, yep. And because normally marching through any city, I would roll to see how many recruits come and join him. And he got nothing. And so he was peed off by it. So he said, but raise it to the ground. So, okay, so some of your men have just started going out to the farms around Cambridge and started burning them. He said, good. And he carried on and to the next town. And behind him was another one of his faction, another Lancastrian coming down the road, about 2 turns behind. As he came into Cambridge, which was still smoking, people started booing him and throwing stones at him.
I think that's where I'm sitting right now. So I'm taking a person. I'm sitting in Cambridge right now. So
Just not smell anything, Martin. There's a bit of a smell of smoke in here.
There is a bit. Someone's having a barbecue out there. I don't know.
Oh dear.
You can then depending what somebody does, there's a reaction to their action.
Yeah. we've had an idea of using Henry VI because he didn't really. It's not like Edward IV. He didn't exactly get stuck in the battles himself. But we were trying to think of a way we could use him as almost like a little football that you pass around between each, because he kept on getting into custody between. Then he'd be out. Then they'd parade him through the streets of London, and then Edward turns up just looking as a knight and a king should, and he slinks away. So we're trying to think of something we could do with him, just Henry like pass the bag.
Is that the main objective of the campaign, to capture and do?
Yeah, but basically, yeah. I mean, we started out. The idea was sort of in the lead up to. We've based our armies around the lead up to Towton. Although to be fair, because he's got Somerset, they keep on getting their heads cut off, so you can say he's any Somerset really. To be fair, so we've based it on the lead up to Towton. So and then I think the idea is we will try and do a snapshot of Towton, and then everything that comes afterwards in sort of Hexham and things like that. So yeah, just pass Henry around like a bad smell, just to see who can like get and see what really happens to him. We've got I've got a chapel that I recently painted up, and I think we're gonna, because he was so popular, we're gonna sit him in there next game. And just say whoever gets him can just have some bonus points to because he's got he's just finished doing his Margaret of Anjou base, because her basically with everyone kneeling to her, and then Henry just in the background, just looking a bit forlorn.
Bumping into walls and things.
Yeah. Given it probably bad. I'm sure there's people out there that I'm the Yorkist player, so I don't care.
No, exactly. When we did reenactment, we were both Yorkist.
Yeah, good.
Good. Oh dear.
Andy. Do love a good campaign. They're always good fun. Haven't done one for a long time.
That's right, mate.
But that's the change. That's what seems to have changed a lot with games, isn't it? That we talked about this on a few times on the stream. That there's much more
skirmish
focus on quick skirmishy or at least small scale games, and that's mass battles gone away. Which, well, unless you've got the opportunity to leave it all set up and have a group of people that always come around and do stuff, it's a shame. It's a real shame.
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons for doing plastic figures was so people could buy big armies for, and I think that people do. There are still going on. Maybe it's just not being photographed so much.
No.
Yeah, I do say we just want to make it cheaper for people to accumulate an army. We went to do plastic for the first time.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a bit like what I was saying about the bases that come in the kit and that. There's, like you were saying, like Martin was saying, like the Hell Caesar rules. Those bases definitely suit that. So there's something I've got to be wary of. Like I say, I'll magnetize, give it a go, magnetizing. So I would like to try Lion Rampart, but I'd also love to be able to use them in a Hell Caesar sort of environment. So no, definitely.
Armies.
Yeah. It's these two. Have got me into it. They're like, we were talking about it last week on the last stream, and I was thinking, I need another project. I'm so fed up painting dwarfs. I've had enough of it. And I was like, I can't do another World War II army because I've got about 6 of them. I was like, and then they started talking about medievals, and then you showed me your command. Have you got it with you? Yeah,
I do. He's still here.
Yeah, he's there.
Get it.
Yeah, please. I absolutely love this.
Just because it's all Perry miniatures? And
no, I didn't even know at the time, but this is absolutely love it.
So that's Edward. Waiting to. It's because I wanted to do it. I normally do my command bases on 60mm rounds, but because it was Edward, I wanted to do something a bit bigger.
You made it special.
Yeah, there he is.
And then I saw that, and then it inspired me to go and buy some of your miniatures. So I was like, yeah. Yeah.
He's been pinging me all week saying, what date was the 100 Years' War? What date was the Baron War?
I need books. I need books.
That's 300 years difference. No, you can't use those figures.
Now my other half's going to wonder what's coming through the post box when it's going to weigh a ton with loads of reading material coming through.
That's right. My one asked me if it's something she can use now. It turns up in the post. Is that for my army? No.
No.
You're not playing. That's it.
Oh dear.
I really want to see Hayley trounce you at War of the Roses or something. That would be really funny.
To be fair,
she'll beat you in Napoleonic. She'll beat you at War of the Roses.
Yeah,
as well.
no, War of the Roses. I think she's gonna help out. We were gonna make her be. I can't remember who it was. was about to say there's some horrible person, but none of them are particularly nice people.
Nice.
I think Falkenberg is one of the only ones who ever actually sort of died in his bed. I can't remember who it's going to be, but in the Black Powder game coming up, she'll be the British again, and she'll be running 95th somewhere to annoy me. My God, she loves it.
You really hate those on the tabletop, don't you?
I hate them because I have to either divert loads of resources to deal with them, or I just kind of have to sit there accepting all these little irritating shots that either disorder me or slowly pick away, and and I know that's the point. It's just aggravating.
Carabinier unit, so over the top of them, that'll be fine.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, I know. She was saying, is there going to be lots of cover in the next game? No.
Yeah, no.
It's going to be field.
No. She's doing what any good wife does, mate. Just keep picking away at you, nice and slow, and gives it to you. Good.
Bravery,
dear. Good job my missus doesn't watch this. Oh my God. Oh,
it has been known for
it has been known. It has been known. Oh dear.
Slap him around the back of the head.
Oh dear.
We're questioning from one of our long-term subscribers, Leslie. He said, if you hadn't done sculpting, what would you have done as a job?
Archaeologist, probably.
Yeah, possibly archaeologist
or paleontologist.
Stuntman. I always wanted to be a stuntman when I was a lot younger, about 10. But I don't think that would have worked. I can't swim, so no.
Well, you're not very particularly
we're quite good. I have done some film work, but obviously this comes in handy sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a special kind of prop.
Yeah, always typecast. It's actually, isn't it? Yeah. Peter's always into anybody, kind of disabled people. No, he likes to actually use, kind of gore it up and have it on screen.
Yeah.
A couple. Yeah.
Because wasn't that the role you played in was it The Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings? Was you were laying on the ground with blood pouring out the
yeah,
you were.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings isn't much of a.
We're all lying around,
just lying down.
But we only have one day.
But The Hobbit, a lot of walking around
and running around
and fighting. Well, no, we shouldn't have been fighting. We some people, but we got
carried away.
Yeah, got moved in there. We're told off by the.
No. I've had another request to know a miniature line. I've got what's next in the Austrian Napoleonic range.
Oh, I don't know yet. Could be Landwehr, Hussars. Well, actually, the Hussars in plastic. I'll probably be showing the painted 3-ups within maybe a week or two.
Oh, that's some good news.
They're in production now. They're being tooled at the moment. Not in production. They're being tooled. And I've just finished the command for those, so that will go off again in about a week's time.
Okay.
So a week and two, you will see some more pictures of the Austrian Hussars in plastic.
And where can I see that on your Facebook page?
Yeah,
that'll go up on your Facebook page. So there you go. That's going to be one happy person. Definitely. Excellent.
Now, how many people I spoke to in various forums and Discord groups who were so excited by your Austrian Cavalry that you brought out a couple of months ago. So many people going, those bugging Perrys, they've done another nice load. I'm going to have to buy them all now.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
It's great. They've gone very well, and I didn't know if they'd go particularly well, or if they'd just be of interest to a minority, but they've gone very well. Yeah, so,
that's great. Yes. It's always
even
good
selling them during a pandemic wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
No, all the sales. I mean, sales are kind of doubled or tripled almost.
Wow.
During the pandemic, yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Everyone's at home with their baskets and actually clicking buy instead of just filling them.
Yeah. We were closed for 5 weeks, as you might know. And when we did open, it's only because one of the staff really was getting bored at home and said, "Can I come in and do stuff?" We said, "Yeah, if you really want to, it'd just be you probably." And he was fine with that, and he did it for 3 weeks. But we're inundated with orders, so we ended one staff for 3 weeks and a double Christmas amount coming in.
Wow.
And it's just about turning off now. It's back to normal now, but it's been great. Yeah, really good.
Oh, that's good. That's good. At least something decent has happened out of it all, isn't it? So you just got to take the positives, haven't you?
Yeah, it does sound like we're talking to Dan Fabridge from the War Games Illustrated magazine. He was saying that he's talked to a lot of small war game companies like ours and asked them how they did over this period. And he said that they've all done really very well. Kind of in general, bigger sales than normal.
Well, so, people haven't been able to get the shows and things like that, have they? So they've had the money there. Yeah,
and obviously no distractions. Holidays cancelled.
Yeah,
so more money in the pocket.
And the last thing you're going to do is give up your hobby. Really.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing going to get you through it. You got to get some painting done, definitely.
I certainly did.
I've done a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think we all
bought
have.
a lot, cleared a bit of the backlog, but still bought more.
Yeah. No, that's it, innit? No, that's it. I've got a question for you. Have you got a favourite, each one of you, have you got a favourite sculpt you've done over the years? So like your favourite sculpt that you've ever done, not per se for yourself, if you've done it individually. Could be any sculpt out there, but have you got a favourite?
What, somebody else's?
Yeah, anybody else's or yourselves or?
I think what inspired us to make toy bigger figures in the first place was the likes of Ray Lamb and
Shep Payne.
Shep Payne, yeah. He was somebody in the 1960s and 70s who used to make 54mm and bigger figures, and they were just photographic little dioramas he used to make, and that I think that's what spurred me and Alan onto trying to copy him in a way, and so anything he did, I think he's still around. I don't know, is he still around?
I don't know. He was getting on a bit when we were young, so
maybe not.
Probably not.
But modern sculptors, there's loads. I say Paul Hicks, I like what he does. Beckley and
our friend
Steve May.
Brian Nelson.
Oh, Brian Nelson,
who's amazing sculptor. And I'd love to see some historical stuff done by him, but you won't.
Well, he's done some of the first war stuff, but I mean, obviously digital sculptors as well. Can't think of their names, but you see it on screen. You think, me.
Have you got a particular model that's your favourite?
Of our own?
Yeah, of your own. Yeah, of your own. You got a particular model that you because I asked this to Offensive Miniatures, and he was like you guys there. He's like, oh.
The last one.
Yeah.
I was saying before, if it's 2 weeks old, you think could have done that better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's usually. I mean, sometimes. Some figures are still standing the test of time after a couple of years. They're still all right.
I mean, strangely, I think for me, it's probably the Smaug model, even though I never got a copy of it for about 3 or 4 years after I made it.
Yeah.
And I've got it in a box now, but I haven't actually put it together or anything. That's work, it really is.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Oh, that's really interesting.
Have you ever had any really, really strange requests come in for, you must have, I mean, we were saying before we came on stream, you have loads and loads of emails of people saying, can you do this and can you do that? What's the strangest request you've had in terms of a model sculpt? I don't want to know about your other things you get requested to do.
There was one from Foundry, wasn't there? Who was asking, really, really, as a concentration camp.
Offensive Miniatures was exactly the same. He got asked.
They said
exactly the same.
It's probably the same bloke asking. Years ago. Christ.
Weird is that?
Why would you want to reproduce that?
Oh, God.
That leads on to a question. So, is there somewhere you wouldn't go in terms of, a period, a unit, an army, because of the historical?
Yeah,
well, for me, really, it's after Kharkiv comes in, really. But I'm not actually too worried about.
It's kind of what's in living memory. If it's
the wives are back.
People still remember it. Second World War. But
they're going to come in singing in a minute. You wait.
You drunk? Yeah, I think they're giggling. I think they're
Good.
Oh dear.
Fantastic.
Dear.
I think one thing we did do, which I wouldn't do again, is when we first joined Games Workshop, a designer called Humphrey Ledbetter, that was one of the designers they had at the time, did a range of torture equipment and victims, which are all naked women on various equipment.
This is in 1978 or something,
and they were just awful. I mean, everything was exaggerated, as you can imagine, and it wasn't at all tasteful. But me and Alan joined, and one of the first things Brian asked us, said, "Can you remake this? But can you make it tasteful?" Torture equipment tasteful.
Oh dear.
Oh my lord.
There are some things you can make tasteful, and there are some things you just cannot. And oh dear, oh dear.
I did notice Rich when he was showcasing his Germanic army for the new infamy rules. He'd put rather a lot of green stuff around one of the female figures that was part of the wailing German women. I noticed. So I don't know whether that's something to do with the kind of thing. Anyway, God, so what else I got in the chat here? Said King's Carbine Miniatures says Nunu here. Are you up for testing some Paraguayan war scenarios with loads of beer? There we go.
Yes, has mentioned this before. Yeah. We know it's coming.
Good. There you go. Nunu, you're up. You're up and away. You can get some places. Marco asks, the next plastic Napoleon, is it Russian cavalry or Prussian cavalry? I'm not sure whether he just didn't hear properly.
Oh, Austrian Hussars coming up next.
Yeah, the Hussars, yeah.
There might be other things coming.
Might be other things. Might be other things. Okay.
At the same time, I might not.
Oh, you tease.
Other things.
Oh dear.
Love it.
I'm going to
what else we got here? I'm just trying to read through lessons here. So the bits here. So someone asked, do you ever plan to return and update the Crusader range?
Yes, because I do need. Well, I'd like to. I keep saying I will. I need to make some Fatimid troops, and I'd like to do second and third Crusade as well, which because the armor becomes a bit more interesting.
You're saying it the last 15 years?
I have been saying it for 15 years. I've just started a new range of Franco-Prussian, did you know?
I did. Let's have a look at your Franco-Prussians. Come on, show them.
Sweet.
They do look good.
Let's bring them in a bit.
That's it.
There we go.
Prussians won that one.
Man down. Oh my god.
Oh dear.
I have visions of you two playing with your stick figures on the top of the tabletop all those years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah. 50 years ago.
Throwing marbles at them and all sorts of things like that.
Yeah,
you know.
we did. Yeah. Use a Sputio pitch upside down on the bed, then set up FX figures on either end of the bed, and then just sometimes use plastic bands to shoot at them from either side. or just jog the bed and see which one stayed up longest.
I used to do something like similar with my brother. We used to get the little you know the little army men you could get, the little plastic guys with the tanks and stuff. You used to set those up at either end of the living room, and then we'd have a missile and we'd chuck it at each other, and whoever lost all their men first would be the loser. Obviously, we were only about 10 and 9 at the time. Just got to watch for eyes and things like that.
What kind of missiles?
Pardon?
What kind of missiles?
Oh, just plastic ones. Just anything that would come in the little army set. So we just chuck it at the other things, and just if it hit a tank, it would blow the tank up. And any infantry we knocked over and stuff like that. It was like that realistically was probably my first insight to wargaming, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
My experience with all those sort of things, but I used to play those mass games with my sort of growing up buddy, was it always got ridiculously out of hand. You started with some little pieces of paper or some plastic bands, and then it up scaled to shoes and books, and then God knows what else would be flung across the room
rocks.
To knock over yeah, stupid stuff.
Matches and lighter fuel.
Yeah, we used to do that with the old Airfix models or the aircraft, and you'd put a little bit of lighter fuel on the back and throw them out the window.
Yeah.
That was all.
Yeah, we're current maniacs as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere about you use an inhaler or something and blew something up.
Yes.
A tank or something.
Yeah, it was a Tamiya Panzer IV. I don't know why we blew it up actually, because it was a nice model. I don't remember it being damaged in any way. And you got in the Beckonays, you used to get little tiny pressurized containers, and put one inside with the turret on top, put the turret on, and then built a little fire underneath it, and let go. And after about 3 or 4 minutes, I don't know how the tank survived up to this point, but the heat was just directed at the canister. All of a sudden, there's a mighty explosion. Never found the turret, and the rest of the tank was gone.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, dear.
That's fantastic. Those things were not cheap either, a Tamiya model like that.
No.
Better. Sean asks, do you use historical battle paintings for ideas when designing figures? And he's saying particularly things like the Russian Napoleonic retreat range. Retreating
Adam is an officer who went out to Russia, who actually survived, came back and did loads of paintings of it. And with the Retreat from Moscow range, I did quite a lot of copies of his figures, ones he painted, of people he saw coming back. Yeah, that was a great reference for that.
Quite often you'll come across a good pose for an officer or something in a painting, and we replicate that pose. Not necessarily the same period that you're making, but the pose is good. So, that kind of thing. Indeed.
You got any for mine?
I'm sure Martin will do a diorama of it.
Yeah, Martin will, yeah. Definitely.
It started out as small command bases and it gets bigger and bigger. I was just wondering, again, sort of a lot of your kits, I mean, not just the War of the Roses, but the other ones, they're all, they can be quite used. You can easily sort of convert them and use them together. So, okay, particularly the War of the Roses, now I keep on talking about it. That's what I'm working on. They're all interchangeable. Was that something you consciously decided to do, or did it just sort of develop that way? And as you worked on more models, so if we do them this way, they can be sort of interchangeable a bit? Because I don't think I've got a single model that's the same out of all of those plastics. So.
I can't remember how many helmet or different heads I did over all the boxes, which can all be interchangeable, but there must be 60 or 70, I think. Must be. Yeah. The idea was so they can all be chopped around from the beginning, really. The idea was so you could use anything on anything, at least for the War of the Roses, and I think the same for the 100 Years' War. Not necessarily in between. It doesn't always work to combine slightly different periods.
No.
Yeah. Different fits for the head sometimes, and the size of the arm. And where the arms fit, there might be slightly bigger or smaller areas, but we're trying to keep it constant in each range. Yeah, it's intentional.
Oh, no, that's cool. That must be even harder with plastics as well, because you were saying you've got to get it so the molds and things like that. Well, you blew my mind earlier, is when you're telling me you've got to have it beveled and things to get it to come out. It's like you have to always be thinking about those things, I guess. And when you're doing the actual, when you're doing the sculpting, so no, I could never sculpt. I'd love to try it, but I'd probably get through like half a miniature and just give up and just like, I don't know, I've been known to throw paint over my shoulder live on the stream. It'd probably be the sculpt. Probably be the theatre, but yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing. Sculpting.
It'd be quite entertaining, Ken. I'd quite enjoy watching it. That'd be brilliant.
I'll get
the bucket behind you.
Yeah, exactly. I'll get some Milliput and give it a go.
Well, you've done your little terrain challenge. You should do a sculpt challenge. Just get people.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh, look at that.
You don't need terrain one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good
cheers.
idea, Martin.
Oh, cheers. Yeah, it's landing me right in it.
Experience though.
Pardon?
It's early on sculpting. Half of the thing is perseverance, just to get some. A lot of sculptors, go halfway and making a figure, and they go, "Oh no, that's awful," and they put it to one side and don't pick up again for weeks or something. Or some people just never try again.
Yeah.
But no, it's just keep at it. It'll get easier a little bit day to day.
Yeah. So if you're going to tell someone, oh sorry, go on.
I'm just going to call it knife. We've actually still got to drop off orders at Perry Minch's. We've got you've got to do quite a bit of Perry Minch's when you get home. So no, really, it's time of night. So
no worries.
So I'm going to go, but
I'll carry on.
He's going to carry on.
All right.
Well, it's lovely to have you, Alan.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, Alan.
It's been great.
Appreciate you spending time. Cheers.
Cheers. Take care.
See you again.
Right, now we can talk about him.
Now we can really talk about him. Now, the real inside scoop.
Right.
On Alan.
I was going to ask if you said, like I was just saying, if I was going to start out to do some sculpting, what would you recommend somebody started with, like tools wise, or what material would you say to use nowadays? What would you say if someone was just going to give it a go, just as a casual thing?
Dura epoxy putty, green stuff. That's what the putty we use, and we've always really used. We used Milliput originally, but green stuff is by far the best putty you can get, I think.
Yeah.
Tools wise, we use a Wax 5 from the dentist. It's a particular tool which you might be able to go to your dentist and say, "Have you got any old Wax 5s?" And they'll just either give it to you, or if it's a bit rusty. You can get them from dental shops, I think, as well, but they're not too expensive. But it's got the right kind of curve and flatness and edge to it, one end, and there's a nice rounded end on the other.
Yeah.
And thick needle and a scalpel. And that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Pliers to bend the wire. So you have to build an armature first.
Yeah.
And then put that into a cork, and then work putty on top of that just to build out the bulk areas, the chest and the legs. don't make the arms straight away. So you make the legs, work up the body. So any layers of clothing going over the top of the legs, and do the head once you finish the body. Drill holes into the top of the body, and put in more wire and bend the arms into the position you want to, and then bulk them out again, allow that to dry, and then do the top layer of putty on top of that.
Yeah.
Weapons in as you go.
Yeah. No,
just as easy as that.
Yeah.
Simple.
You make it sound so easy.
You do. You make it sound like I do want to give it a go.
Even I'm thinking I might have a go at that.
Yeah.
Easy. How difficult is it?
And what's going through my head? Do I know a dentist? My
wife works in a dentist.
Hello, Martin.
There you go. There you go. Well, there's your challenge, Martin. That's you sorted
No way.
out.
Oh god.
Whatever you do, try and make the whole figure in one go. Wait for each layer to dry.
Okay. So give yourself enough time to start it. Then definitely.
If you don't, you just end up chasing a bit of putty around and around a bit of wire. So that the basic putty on the wire, the first thin layer that goes on, has to cure first before you start working on it.
Okay. No, that's cool to know that sort of thing, because like from the outside, like myself, I wouldn't have a clue where to start with that. But now you've said that, it gives me a little bit of hope to get some green stuff and give it a go.
Yeah.
There's a career change for you, Ken. You can change from being telecoms to modeler. There you go. I'm intrigued because you were talking about all the other modelers and all the sculptors that you talk to on a regular basis. Is there a sort of club of you guys? Do you all sort of chat regularly, or you just meet up at conventions and
have a pint?
Just people you've known for years.
No, we do. Yeah, we do obviously meet up at conventions and things, but generally it's either around my house or Alan's house playing war games. And Ali Morrison, who we've known for years, and Dave as well, both of them, and other design. I mean, occasionally we'll go out for a drinking session with ex-workshop sculptors or current workshop sculptors. So we do know a lot of sculptors by face and name and meeting them, but I suppose not on a. I don't know Paul Hicks that well, really. I met him at almost every convention that he's been to and we've been to. We've chatted very quickly, but other than that, no, I probably should get out more. Really. Go to more pubs.
Drink more beer, go to more pubs. It's always a good motto in life, I reckon. Yeah. That's the answer for everything. You're right. I'm intrigued though. So because it must be quite a small community, if you like, of sculptors.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, if somebody was another 15-year-old kid like you starting out now, how, apart from just having a go at it, is there somewhere they can go and ask advice, or is it just a question of just trying out, doing whatever they can do?
Well, I'm pretty sure Games Workshop do. Well, at least in Nottingham, the big main place, I think they have people you can go and ask how to sculpt, and there might be not necessarily the designers, but people who know how to make figures, who you can go through all the basics with you. And I don't know whether they do that actually in the shops as well, but they might do. I'm not sure. I haven't been in a shop for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Otherwise, there must be online tutorials as well.
YouTube. Yeah.
YouTube.
I'm sure. Everything's on YouTube somewhere. So.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Some of it you don't really want to read, but
has anyone actually asked you, like, personally, to teach them to sculpt?
Yes, we kind of. We've had a couple of requests of people saying, "Can I come and work with you?" I think with the idea that then they do, because they do some sculpting, and they would just come and work for Perimeters, and we'd sell what they make with our kind of input into what they're making. but that's never really going to happen. It's called well, we can just about cope with what we're making, mold making and production and facilities and everything else. So the last thing we need is somebody else
adding more to it. Yeah. No, definitely no.
Quite big stuff at the moment. Yeah.
No, precisely.
I can't remember what I was going to say now. But yes, we do people requests all the time for people asking how to make miniatures and so on. But I used to have a just written out so I could copy and paste it on the email, because it's quite a long
process, yeah.
Paragraph to actually go into.
No, exactly. No, precisely, yeah. No, it's definitely one of those interesting. Without sculptors, we wouldn't have a hobby. So that is simple, isn't it? So
Or you would using bits of cardboard and
bits of paper and tokens. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
like Peter Dennis's paper soldiers. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
They literally are
Yes.
paper soldiers, and you cut them out, and seem to be vaguely popular at the moment.
Yeah.
But
I guess yeah, it loses something for me with those sort of things, but I do love seeing ranks and ranks of particularly metal figures on a tabletop. It's great.
Yeah. Oh,
he's still there. Oh, that's scary.
Children, a couple more minutes now. Doesn't go yet.
Oh my goodness, we couldn't get rid of him. Now we can't ask that question. We're going to ask him.
Oh, damn it!
Now know you need to know about Alan, don't you? Oh, good.
So I've just realised I missed one of the very first questions we got in the chat, so I'm going to go back to that one. Tony Dillon said, "We missed our meetup in Kenilworth a few weeks ago. What game did you intend to put on?"
Wild geese.
Yeah. Colin Aston had asked me to put on a British and Egypt game, 1801, that was the plan anyway. But obviously,
or the world came to an end.
Yeah, the world came to an end, sadly. I've got a couple of questions. Obviously, you asked it about the Austrian Napoleonic range. He said, "What about artillery? Are you going to do any artillery for the Austrians?"
Artillery.
we already do quite a lot of artillery in metal,
Yeah.
but not in plastic. Not yet anyway. No.
Yeah.
I don't need to because there's about 6 codes in metal.
Yeah. No, that's fine. And I can't remember if you asked this, if someone asked this earlier, but he asked, when you were at Games Workshop, did you ever get any freedom when you were like sculpting, or did you have to keep to a set parameter that Games Workshop said you had to do?
Yeah, freedom at the beginning. First,
it was fairly free. The first couple of years, maybe
3 or 4 years, possibly.
Yeah,
we had quite a lot of input into what we were making. And then
became bigger and bigger and slightly more not corporate, but they're producing magazines and rules and everything else, so that everything had to tie down before the figures came out.
And they had a number of concept artists working by that stage, working out what the range would look like, and we copied those designs. But we were mates of them anyway, so we could always add bits or kind of suggest things, and got in sometimes. And sometimes not.
No, that's cool. No, that's good. That's interesting to know. So yeah, have you got anything else you wanted to ask mine? I've just dropped him right in it.
Sorry, I've been
Haley there. I can see,
yeah, she's here. She's
there we go.
me. Hang on, she's going to stick her head in.
Hello.
That's my opponent.
Gordon's.
She's been to get booze. So, there we go.
We need booze. Yeah.
I was just going to say, well, we talked about this last week actually, and we talked about sort of burnout with sort of painting. Do you ever find sort of with sculpting, you ever suffer from a bit of sort of burnout and you need to sort of step away from it for a few days? I mean, it must be different if it's your business. Obviously, you can't, but.
Well, actually, what I do is I used to do a couple of days sculpting. It could be as much as a week, and then do some painting. Or do sometimes we're asked to do photographs for Wargaming magazines or books. So that's quite nice to break up sculpting.
Varied,
So a bit of
each. And you wouldn't want sculpting just solidly 2 weeks on a trot and just on the same subject. That will get a bit too much, but you always break it up with something else. And also, actually, when we do the plastic ranges, we normally put a leaflet in, which takes up about maybe a month of work doing the leaflet. Sometimes, depending on what's in it, we can get carried away and put quite a lot in there.
Yeah, it was.
So and take up quite a lot of time as well.
Yeah,
It's good to break up sculpting.
Yeah.
Time.
that's it. I was really interested with the leaflet actually that came with the box set. You've got the banners are all in there as well with the flags, which you just cut out with the knife, and I thought that was a really nice extra touch. Because obviously you didn't have to do that, but yeah, but it's
It just seems wrong not to, really. I mean, if you got standard bearers in there, standard bearers, you've got to have a standard as well,
Yeah.
well as many as possible. And hopefully, with more of the standards in there, you might think, oh, I want to do one with that, another unit with that standard. So, might encourage people to buy more boxes. Sell another box.
Yeah, precisely. exactly that. And it's nice as well because it give me ideas and stuff for what I'm gonna end up painting mine. What sort of standard do I like the look of? And then I do a bit of research into who that is and who's got that standard and things. And it's definitely helpful for someone who's new to that sort of period. That information.
Give you everything you need apart from a set of rules in the box. Bases and ideas for what colours to paint and the standards. It's all part of the package, really. I don't think we could do a box now that didn't have those elements in it, really.
Yeah.
People could paint.
No,
No, it gave me because I got the 1807-14 French set that you did.
Oh yeah.
Just before Christmas, and so the leaflet in that is huge. And I was just going to use them as French, and then I had a look at them and it's like, oh no, I'm going to do Italians. There we go. So that's now because I was looking at the I was like, there we go. But so lots of white uniforms which are sitting there now just waiting.
I just love that particular period of the French army and of the French infantry, and I knew when I was going to do it, when I did it, there'd be quite a lot of uniform variations that I need to put into the leaflet, so I didn't really stop.
Yeah.
I wanted to paint up all these units as well, and I have started.
Exactly. It's a never-ending hobby. We all know this. It will never end.
It never ends until you put in that big box.
Yeah, if I die with a paintbrush in my hand, I'll be a happy man. There you go.
So, I was going to ask also one of the questions that came up a couple of times in chat, and it comes up every time we show any figures on the channels and what have you. Scale.
Why paint your figures green?
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah, why the hell have you done a bloody green figure? Which I get abused about because bloody Ken, he made me get an orc army, so I've gone downhill completely. Anyway, get away from green. Scale, sizes, and figures. It's one of the things people ask all the time when you're showing figures off. How does it compare? How does a Perry compare to a Warlord compared to a? Is that something you look at?
No.
Do you just do how you think it should be?
Yeah, we just make the size of figures we want to see. The more elegant, kind of the taller the better. But there is an element of scale creep. Yeah, most of our ranges are creep up all there. We're trying to keep it level. So I think they probably are about 30 mil at the moment.
Yeah.
29. But not to make them bigger, but you can't help it. It does make the figure slightly more elegant if you make it slightly more proportion, which means everything is taller.
I always love the Foundry ones because they're almost quite chunky, aren't they? They're a lovely chunky figure. And actually, when you look at them raw, you think, "Oh my goodness, that's quite a big figure." But when they paint up so beautifully, and they fit in really, really well, but they are a chunky old figure, and it always makes. And I love them.
I love Foundry. Yeah.
That's kind of the norm back then in the 80s to make kind of almost squat figures with big hands slightly too big, heads a little bit too big, and hands a bit too big, feet a bit too big, and gradually hopefully we're getting thinner, and our figures are getting thinner and thinner, more in proportion.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about doing? Obviously, you do the 28 mils, but for height, obviously human beings aren't all the same height, are they? So you do get shorter humans and you get taller people. Have you ever thought? Do you do that in your metal range or anything like that? Do you actually
in the same pack?
Yeah, within the same pack, for example. Yeah.
No, not really, because I mean, with the head, often we make mannequins and the heads we add on afterwards.
Yeah.
The metal mannequin without a head, and then you put the head on. So that can vary slightly in the size of the neck. Shoulder level,
you don't really notice it unless you've got a lot of figures standing to attention.
Yeah.
And you look at the light, you wouldn't really notice it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and if we did any figures like that, it probably might do a little bit of variation in height, but that would mean making a new figure just to make that line look a bit odd.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And every figure would have a bit of a belly on him, or every sixth figure would be that short one again.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago on the stream because people get really, really antsy about making sure it's absolutely historically accurate in terms of the dress and the kit they're wearing and all this. But then we all want them to be absolutely perfectly aligned height-wise and looking identical. And you think, well, that just doesn't make sense. That doesn't happen. We all want that, right? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I get it from a manufacturing point of view. You can't really produce all the different variations. That would be impossible.
No, you can do it, but it doubles, triples the time you're going to make take in the same unit or same pack
of figures, and you get complaints. People would then write in, this one, I've got a small one in this pack. Can you
oh god, yeah, it wouldn't even enter my mind. Yeah.
Nice. So they send it back. You go and get another casting done, which means spinning the whole mold to get one figure out, put it in the envelope and send it off.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Not worth the aggro. No, I can believe that. Maybe that's the cure for 3D printing.
There you go. Yeah. That's a good shout. Are you guys? I've got someone here asking. Are you Perry Miniatures going to Warfare in November if it still goes ahead?
Where's Warfare?
Reading.
Oh no, we don't normally. Although Dave Thomas might do if he's booked in and everything.
That's so strange. That's my boss's name. Yeah. That's even weirder.
Thomas takes all figures around the show.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, there's no shows going on at the moment, so he probably hasn't done much this year.
No.
But
we don't know.
It's down to him, really. He just takes our figures and.
We're not going ourselves. Well, I'm not.
No.
Planning to.
No.
Are there any go-to shows that you must go to?
Any
you personally love going to? Any go-to shows that a normal time that you would say, I'm definitely going to go to that show? Would you not bother?
I always like Partisan.
Yeah, Partisan's good.
We don't.
And
Tactica in Hamburg.
But we'll.
Yeah. That's for the beer, though, isn't it?
You get a lot of beer there as well. Yeah. Yeah, very high quality game.
Very high quality game.
Beer, yeah.
Things we don't do enough shows around we don't really go to many shows around the country really. We only really stick to Partisan and Salute. Obviously Salute, but that's a kind of a short day, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Cramming a lot in.
It's a long way to go, isn't it? It's especially.
The atmosphere's a bit odd. In that it's a huge, great box, hall. But we love it there. I mean, we always enjoy actually selling our figures behind the stand. That's only once a year, though. Wouldn't do any more than
that. No. Someone's asked, do you have a specific paints that you like using? Specific range?
Yeah, well, I normally use
white.
Yeah, but no. Dulux. No, Games Workshop paints I use mostly.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Rayho sometimes.
Not really. No, I do. Yeah. No, I mostly Workshop. It's just that Mints will get into town to get my paints.
Yeah. Have you tried the new contrast paints?
Yeah. They're really good for some things, and have to need quite a bit of work before we use them on something else. I mean, yeah, it's another tool basically. In the,
Precisely, yeah.
You just paint straight over a white undercoat.
No,
You
not
can
normally,
but I suppose there are certain colours you can use like that. But
yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, horses are quite great.
It's great on.
Yeah. Oh, they're amazing.
And then doing a coat of a contrast over top of that.
Yeah.
That really.
Oh, it does save time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're doing masses,
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. But yeah, no. It is coming up to 10 o'clock, which is our cut-off time.
Okay. Well,
that's when the money runs out in the meter. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's been fabulous.
Oh, look.
There he is again.
There he is, another sneak peek. So when you said
when are they going to be on sale?
Yeah.
Sorry?
When do you think they'll be on sale?
When I finish them, and then when Terry finishes them. But there's a lot of other things in the way.
Okay.
So,
Austrian Cavalry.
Yeah. Austrian Cavalry after the Afghans next in plastic. Then the Austrian, and then we don't know.
No, that's cool. So for all the latest info, you can head to your Facebook page and that's the thing that gets updated first.
Right. Yeah. That's probably the best place to get updates. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. No, that's wicked. But yeah, it's been absolutely amazing having you both on, and thank you very much for taking the time out to come on. You're welcome back anytime you want.
Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic.
And we'll chink a beer with you at some point whenever we can actually get out and meet.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Welcome to come out for a game as well if you want.
Yeah. I'm not going to say no to that.
Get in touch.
That'd be brilliant.
Will do.
But yeah, but thank you very much, guys, for watching, and we will see you again very soon. And bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Right, how do I turn off?